It is early morning. You wake up to sunlight streaming through your window and the gentle sound of birds outside. The air is fresh, and as you step into your backyard with a cup of coffee, everything seems peaceful. The hedgerows are quiet, the marsh is still, and the garden is undisturbed. But as you walk along the edge of the grass, you notice something is missing. There is no flicker of movement in the undergrowth, no silent slither beneath the leaves. The world feels strangely empty, but you cannot quite explain why. What you do not realize is that last night, every snake on Earth vanished. Not a single snake remains in the forests, the fields, or the swamps. For the first time in history, the planet is completely snake-free. At first, you might feel a sense of relief. There are no more worries about snakes hiding in the garden or crossing your path on a walk. No more anxious moments when turning over a log or stepping through tall grass. But this relief is short-lived. In the silence left behind, something else begins to happen. You notice small movements in the corners of your yard. Mice and rats begin to appear, moving with new confidence. They find their way into sheds and pantries, chewing through bags of seeds and stored grain. In the fields, seedlings are gnawed down to the roots overnight. The numbers of rodents grow quickly, multiplying with each passing day. Soon, ticks and fleas arrive, hitching rides on the backs of these rodents. They spread through homes, barns, and fields, carrying diseases that begin to show up in hospitals and clinics. Farmers start to lose their harvests as crops disappear and storage bins are invaded. The food web, once balanced and resilient, begins to wobble. Birds and foxes, deprived of their usual prey, start hunting different animals. Some plants fail to regenerate because their seeds are eaten before they can even sprout. You begin to realize that snakes were never just background creatures. They were silent regulators, keeping the numbers of pests in check and stabilizing entire ecosystems. Snakes are not villains. They are the quiet managers of balance. They eat pests, protect crops, and even supply compounds used in medicine. Taking them away is like pulling a keystone out of an arch. The structure holds for a moment, then slowly starts to shift, and finally, everything changes at once. As the hours and days pass, you watch the chain reaction spread from your backyard to the wider world. Scientists and farmers begin to track what is happening. They talk about how snakes are not just curiosities, but mesopredators, the steady hands that keep populations of mice, rats, frogs, and insects under control. By eating prolific breeders, snakes prevent explosive population growth and stop resources from collapsing. Without them, the math changes. Rodents reproduce at an incredible rate. Seeds and seedlings vanish. Diseases carried by ticks and fleas find more hosts than ever before. This is called a trophic cascade. It is a quiet imbalance that becomes sudden and costly. Snakes also shape how nutrients move through the land. By controlling herbivores, they influence decomposition, soil fertility, and the regeneration of plants. On farms, snakes have always been unpaid pest managers. They reduce the need for pesticides and protect harvests. In public health, this means fewer diseases spreading from animals to humans. Conservation and integrated pest management are not separate ideas. They are both about protecting habitats, creating corridors, and designing agricultural margins that welcome snakes. When you understand these connections, snakes become partners, not pests. Next, scientists and farmers share real-world examples. They measure how quickly ecosystems tip when that invisible regulator disappears. The results are sobering, and the consequences are real. Look more closely, and you will see the mechanics at work. Remove snakes, and the predator-prey equations tilt. Rodents breed on monthly cycles. One female mouse can produce dozens of offspring in a single season. Without snakes to keep the numbers down, populations double every few months. Seeds, seedlings, and stored grain are overwhelmed. Ticks and fleas multiply, increasing the risk of diseases like hantavirus, leptospirosis, and Lyme disease. Economically, the effects are immediate. Local harvests collapse as rodents devour crops and stored food. Farmers spend more on pesticides, but these chemicals only go so far. Over time, pests become resistant, and the costs keep rising. Ecologists describe this as a trophic cascade. A small loss at the top of the food web creates huge changes below. Studies from islands and farms around the world prove it. When predator numbers drop, pests surge and ecosystems unravel. Other predators like raptors and foxes try to fill the gap, but they cannot hunt at night or burrow underground the way snakes do. Their efforts are incomplete. The lesson is clear. Biodiversity is nature's insurance policy. With fewer species, the risks get bigger. Protecting snakes is not just about saving a single animal, it is about managing risk for farms, communities, and entire ecosystems. The solutions are practical. Farmers can preserve hedgerows, reduce the use of poisons, and create safe corridors where snakes can move and hunt. Monitoring populations and supporting citizen science projects help track changes before they become crises. Imagine the ecosystem as a row of dominoes. Snakes are the keystone tile. Remove them, and the cascade begins. Burrows fill with mice, seedlings vanish overnight, stored grain is ruined, and hospitals see more cases of diseases carried by ticks. The critical elements are simple but decisive: predator pressure, reproductive rates, habitat connectivity, and human behavior all shape what happens next. When predation drops, prey numbers explode. When habitats are lost, snakes cannot move between fields and forests. When rodenticides are overused, they kill not only pests but also the very predators that keep those pests in check. The feedback loop is costly and hard to break. The economic pain is felt quickly. Farmers lose crops and spend more on pest control. Public health budgets grow as disease outbreaks become more common. Cultural traditions linked to snakes begin to fade. The deep fix is integrated: protect and restore hedgerows. Use pest management that centers on nature, not chemicals. Fund monitoring and early warning systems. Reframe snakes as allies, not enemies. On one small farm, a single garter snake can stop a mouse invasion before seedlings are lost. This is the heart of practical action. Design landscapes so snakes can do their work. Plant hedgerows, leave stone piles, and keep some field edges unplowed. These become corridors for snakes to travel and hunt. Switch to integrated pest management. Use less poison. Monitor pest numbers and let natural predators do their job. In cities, planners can include green corridors and native plants in parks, giving snakes a safe place to regulate pests. Public health teams can combine ecological monitoring with disease tracking to spot outbreaks early. Support citizen science. Fund surveys that use environmental DNA to map where snakes are and where they are needed most. Policies can protect habitats, offer incentives to farmers, and align subsidies with biodiversity goals. When these steps come together, costs go down, disease risk drops, and harvests stabilize. The payoff is simple. Building systems that welcome snakes turns anxiety into resilience and replaces expensive fixes with ongoing, nature-powered insurance. History offers warnings and lessons. In Guam during the 1940s, an invasive snake wiped out native birds. Forests changed, rodents and insects surged, and crops suffered. In Australia, cane toads poisoned native snakes, and pest balance collapsed. Across the Midwest and Southeast, farms that encourage hedgerows and tolerate garter snakes see less rodent damage and lower pesticide bills. Studies show that nature-based pest control can cut costs by a large margin. In cities, green corridors that support snakes reduce rodent encounters and lower disease risk. Public health agencies are starting to see snakes as invisible partners. One Health strategies now link ecosystem health with pandemic prevention. Climate change makes these linkages even more important. As snake ranges shift, so do the places where pests can explode. The lesson is clear. Protecting snake habitat is not just about sentiment, it is preventive infrastructure. Policy, agroecology, and urban planning that welcome snakes create resilience, cheaper pest control, and a healthier future for crops, communities, and cultures. Start by treating snakes as infrastructure, not nuisances. Protect hedgerows, stone piles, and marsh edges that connect habitat patches. On farms, use integrated pest management. Replace blanket poisons with monitoring, humane traps, and habitat tweaks that support native predators. In towns, plan green corridors and native plant buffers that reduce rodent hotspots and give snakes safe passage away from busy areas. Invest in monitoring. Use citizen science apps, environmental DNA surveys, and tracking to create real-time maps of predator and prey. Pair ecological surveillance with public health alerts. When disease risks rise, respond with habitat or sanitation changes before outbreaks start. Policies can support farmers who maintain biodiversity margins and require ecological reviews for new development. Education changes minds. Train extension agents, run local workshops, and share stories of farmers who gained yield stability by welcoming snakes. These actions: habitat, policy, monitoring, incentives, and outreach turn snakes from feared hazards into reliable, low-cost pest control and public health insurance. Next time you see a snake slip quietly through the grass, remember this: the balance of the world may rest on its silent watch.